Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Race in vain. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Race in vain. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Race in vain. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain. Race in vain.
Good morning and welcome. If ever there was a week to give voice to the Spirit, this might be one of them. So I hope you'll join me and sing out. Freedom never dies, I say. Freedom never dies. No law can kill the dreams we hold. Freedom never dies. Freedom never dies, I say. Freedom never dies. No law can kill the dreams we hold. Freedom never dies. It seems I hear Martin's voice from the earth, his blood still cries. No law can kill the dreams we hold. Freedom never dies. It seems I hear George's voice from the earth, his blood still cries. No law can kill the dreams we hold. Freedom never dies. It seems I hear John Lewis speak from the earth, his blood still cries. No law can kill the dreams we hold. Freedom never dies. Freedom never dies, I say. Freedom never dies. No law can kill the dreams we hold. Freedom never dies. Sun don't set in the morning, sun don't set in the morning, Lord. Sun don't set in the morning, 'cause light shines over the world, yes, light shines over the world. Oh, pray on, keep a praying people, pray on, keep a praying people, pray on, keep a praying people. Light shines over the world, yes, light shines over the world. Rain don't fall from a blue sky, rain don't fall from a clear blue sky. Rain don't fall from a blue sky, 'cause light shines over the world, yes, light shines over the world. Oh, pray on, keep a praying people, pray on, keep a praying people, pray on, keep a praying people. Light shines over the world, yes, light shines over the world. Water don't rise when the stars glow. Water don't rise when the stars glow bright. Water don't rise when the stars glow, 'cause light shines over the world, yes, light shines over the world. Oh, pray on, keep a praying people, pray on, keep a praying people, pray on, keep a praying people. Light shines over the world, yes, light shines over the world. We are the ones. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. We are the ones. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. We are the ones. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun.
Good morning and welcome everyone to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Lori Wanker, serving on your board of directors. We are a congregation in the Free Faith tradition, a community of youth, adults, and children dedicated to pluralism in the spiritual search and ethics grounded in action. Service participants today include Carol Coet, Amy Peterson-Derrick, Reverend Sarah Goodman, and Victoria Safford, supported by Anna Gares and Aaron Scott. Music today is from Carol Coet and our choir, directed by Thaxter Cuneo, the Charlotte's Web Ensemble, and the choir of the Poor People's Campaign, led by Yara Allen. Your pledge committee has a gift for you and your household: a paper luminary to place in your window or your yard, and a pack of cocoa to warm your spirit as the winter settles in. You can pick these up here at church, right outside the front door, anytime. Gifts of thanks to all of you for supporting in our church in so many ways. Strong is what we make each other. Watch for the e-news this week on Monday and Thursday for news about upcoming classes and programs for children, youth, and adults. Spirit in Practice with Reverend Sarah Goodman begins this week. All are welcome to explore and share practices to sustain your soul and strengthen community. Today at 11:15, please join us for Cyber Social Hour. It's a fun way to meet others and share conversations in a small facilitated group. We'll put the Zoom link on and easy instructions in the chat box. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Come in. Come into this space which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this space where we can heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this space where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this space. Together, we make it a holy space. Kate Booth will light our chalice.
This month's theme, courage, certainly speaks to me. This time last year, I was 4 weeks away from taking on what, in my mind, was an insane challenge: climbing Kilimanjaro to raise funds for H2O for Life. What was I thinking? As the time drew near, the mental preparation was taking much more effort than the physical one. Cheryl Strayed, a New York Times best-selling author of a book you may know called Wild, also published a book of quotes with the title Brave Enough, and that became my question. Am I brave enough? What would it take to get me to trust my capability? The answer lied in reaching out to others, gathering support, expertise, and trusting others to fill me with courage. And fill me they did. I took 100 supporters' names on my shirt with me to the summit. With their support and all the information I dragged out of Bob Gagner and his wife, Chris, I found success. I was brave enough. This story relates to how I feel about the members of our church and our pastors. You all fill me. You give me the courage to stay true to myself, the courage to strengthen the person I want to be, courage to continue to live our covenants, to live and act with an open mind, a loving heart, and helping hands. I light the chalice to thank you for the beauty of mutual support that increases our capability to take on the next challenge. Thank you.
Please join me in the opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Carol's going to lead us in singing.
Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Freedom's name is mighty sweet, and soon we're gonna meet. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. We've got our hands on the freedom plow. We won't take nothing for our journey now. Keep your hands on the plow. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Freedom's name is mighty sweet. The only chains that the people can stand is the chain of hand in hand. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Gonna board that old greyhound. Carry the love from town to town. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Hold on, hold on, keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Now the only thing that we've done wrong is stay in the wilderness far too long. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on.
Good morning. This morning's story is adapted from a Thai folktale, which can be found in many different places by the title, It's Not My Problem. The sun was setting on a warm summer evening in a glorious kingdom nestled deep within the mountains. The king and his advisor had just finished a very satisfying day of work indeed, and so they decided to treat themselves to a delicious plate of puffed rice and honey as they sat on the balcony to watch the sunset over the village. The sidewalk beneath the balcony was busy, full of bustling villagers on their way back to their homes from the markets. But the king was only interested in reviewing the business of the day, mostly boasting about this success and that. Suddenly, a noise caught the attention of the king. He paused as he leaned over the balcony to find the source of the unpleasant sound. But as he leaned over, a drop of honey fell from his plate and onto the railing of the balcony. The source of the sound now identified, the king then quickly turned his attention back to his advisor, picking right up where he had left off without missing a beat. As the king carried on, his advisor, noticing the honey, slowly reached into his pocket for his handkerchief in order to wipe up the drip. But at once the king reached over to stop him. "It is no worry of ours, my trusted advisor. Someone else will tend to this. Let us continue our conversation." And so they did. But as the king continued to talk, his advisor couldn't help but notice that the honey slowly began to drip from the balcony onto the street below. The advisor interrupted. "Sire, the honey has begun to litter the street below. Perhaps I could take just a moment to clean it up. I worry then an unassuming passerby might end up in a sticky mess." "Nonsense," replied the king with a snort. "I am sure someone will come and clean it up eventually. It is no worry of ours. The big problem is that you have interrupted my train of thought. Now shall we get back to our conversations?" The king continued his speech. But before long, the honey started to attract flies to the sidewalk. The king's advisor took notice, but the king remained oblivious, and there seemed no end in sight for the king's speech. And the advisor hesitated to interrupt again. A few moments later, the swarm of flies was pounced on by a gecko who drew the notice of a cat who caught the attention of a passing dog. The king's advisor rose to his feet in a panic as the gecko tried desperately to flee the cat, who was now being chased by the dog. "Sire," he said desperately, "I regret to interrupt you once more, but there is quite a commotion on the street below, and I just think that if I could just do something." "Why should we be concerned?" replied the king. "It is just a few creatures who squabble. Do not concern yourself with these matters. We still have much to discuss. And surely someone else will tend to it. Besides, why would we want to draw more attention to these creatures when they will just likely go away on their own? It is of no worry to us." But just a few moments later, the owners of the cat and the dog arrived on the scene to try to intervene. Before long, a crowd of villagers had gathered as an argument broke out between the two. And then in just moments, the argument between the two grew and grew until it seemed that the entire village was yelling. Well, this finally got the king's attention. "Your Majesty," said the advisor softly, "shouldn't we do something?" The king just held up his hand. "We mustn't meddle in the affairs of the villagers. It isn't of our concern. Besides, we still have plenty of rice and honey left to eat, and look at this glorious sunset. If we busy ourselves with these other matters, we shall certainly miss out on the sweetness of our own evening. Let us continue to talk in a quieter location." But just at that moment, as the noise from the street grew louder and louder, the crowd at last spilled into the palace. The advisor could ignore this no longer. He knew what he must do. Ignoring the requests of the king, the advisor stood in place. "Sir, what started as a drop of honey has led to great suffering. And should we do nothing, the suffering will continue to grow. Even you can no longer hide from it." The advisor paused, watching the face of the king for a response. "Sire, I must advise you to act, though ending the fight won't be enough, for as long as the honey remains, harm will continue to befall our great village." The king considered the words of his advisor, and deep down, he knew them to be true. For what could have been remedied right at the start would now take years of great care, and even still, the kingdom would never be the same.
Friends, join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Find a comfortable place for your body. Breathe in deeply and hold it for a brief time before releasing it. That's where we are today, friends, in the held breath of time, that fullness and discomfort between breaths, full of hope and anxiety, waiting and yearning. Take a breath, hold it for a brief time, and feel that tension in your body. Feel the tension and then release it. Release it with your breath. Allow your shoulders to release. Allow muscles that have been clenching, maybe in your jaw, maybe in your shoulders, maybe somewhere else. Let those muscles take a break for a time. Right here, right now, we are safe. In this moment and always, we are whole and holy. If you can and haven't already, close your eyes or rest your vision softly on a beloved object. Imagine yourself and your loved ones wrapped in a big, soft, warm blanket, enveloped in warmth and comfort. As you imagine this, say their names in your heart or out loud. As we hold close those whom we personally love, let us also extend that warmth and comfort to those in our community who are struggling with hunger, with addiction, with mental health, with anxiety, depression, and so much more in these challenging times. Wrap them up close to your heart. And finally, let's send out a prayer to the holy, the spirit of life, the named and unnamed, all that is. We are sending a prayer of protection, a prayer for quelling the storm, a prayer for transition and transformation. May those who are coming into leadership be safe and hold the offices they take up with deference and humble hearts. May those who are releasing leadership let it go and turn their eyes toward sunnier skies. May those who seek to do harm find that harm is out of reach. And may we always remember that the long arc of the universe bends towards justice, and may our lives be lived making it so. Make it so. Alan Mitchell will tell us about today's special collection.
Good morning. I am Alan Mitchell. I am one of the co-chairs of the Social Action Committee. We're taking a special collection today for a local nonprofit organization called Every Meal, whose goal it is to fight child hunger. Every Meal was started about 10 years ago by a group of teachers at an elementary school in Minneapolis to serve a kindergarten class with a bag of non-perishable food for the weekend. Today, because of the coronavirus pandemic, kids are out of school and many families are having difficulty putting food on the table. As a result, the Every Meal organization has expanded its operations with a winter meal program designed to provide food bags to kids throughout the week. Relying on donations and volunteers, Every Meal now distributes food bags at numerous locations throughout the Twin Cities. These food bags contain hearty, stable food products that kids can pick up and take home. The organization now serves 200,000 meals a month in 31 school districts across Minnesota. Thank you for helping to feed hungry kids.
first reading is from Andy Kim, congressional representative from New Jersey. Last week, he was surprised that pictures of him went viral, showing him in his suit and tie on his hands and knees in the Capitol building, picking up trash and broken glass left by the White mob on Wednesday. This comes from a radio interview. It was terrible to see this room that I loved so much threatened in that way. I just picked up a trash bag and spent about an hour and a half picking up trash. Honestly, it was kind of therapeutic, a solace. I could just focus in on a tangible task, making the room as beautiful as I could, a way to literally pick up the pieces of our democracy. I'll be honest, it's hard. I'm still processing it. And every day, yesterday even, I saw uniformed service members quartered here for the first time since the Civil War. More military in the Capitol now than in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. That's a lot to process. I worked for the State Department in Afghanistan, and I have seen what radicalization can do. I am fearful. I worry that it's happening right in our own country. There are real threats that are calling for thousands of people to come and encircle the Capitol, encircle the Washington Monument, to try to block the president-elect from entering the White House. I will be at the inauguration and I will not feel 100% safe. What we saw on January 6th is that anything is possible. I called my mother while the insurrection was happening. She was crying as if she were here too. I remember my mother and my father bringing me to the Capitol when I was a child. They grew up in Korea in the aftermath of the Korean War. My dad grew up in an orphanage as a polio survivor and ended up here with a PhD in genetics. Their story is so poignant. They brought me to the Capitol and taught me to love and respect this building. The reporter then said, "It's hard not to notice that after the ransacking, it seemed to be mostly people of color in the rotunda, cleaning up as a mess that was made by white rioters. What do you make of that?" Representative Kim replied, "I don't think you can not see the contrast. I spoke with some of the guards and the cleaning staff. One of them said, I could see in that photo that you love this building as much as I do. For people who are immigrants or children of immigrants or people in disenfranchised communities or minority communities, we don't take anything for granted." This is scary for me as a father raising 2 baby boys in America, and that's why I'm recommitting myself to do everything I can to try to fix it. This is not just going to go away like a light switch on January 20th when Biden comes in. We need to recognize just how bad the problem is, and it's going to be a long-term effort for all of us. Our second reading is from the book of Psalms, number 15, translated by Stephen Mitchell. Lord, who can be trusted with power and who may act in your place? Those with passion for justice, who speak the truth from their hearts and who have let go of selfish interests and grown beyond their own lives, who see the wretched as their family and the poor as their flesh and blood. They alone are impartial and worthy of the people's trust. Their compassion lights up the whole earth, and their kindness endures forever.
They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. They say that freedom is a constant struggle. Oh Lord, we've struggled so long. Well, I must be free, I must be free. They say that freedom is a constant dying. They say that freedom is a constant dying. They say that freedom is a constant dying. Oh Lord, we've struggled so long. Well, we must be free, we must be free. They say that freedom constant mourning. They say that freedom is a constant mourning. They say that freedom is a constant mourning. Oh Lord, we've struggled so long. Well, we must be free, we must be free. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. They say that freedom is a constant sorrow. Oh Lord, we've struggled so long. Well, we must be free, we must be free. They say that freedom is a constant hunger. They say that freedom is a constant hunger. They say that freedom is a constant hunger. Oh Lord, we've struggled so long. Well, we must be free, we must be free.
The other day, I was listening to an old recording from 1930 of Happy Days Are Here Again. It's an old barroom song that was somehow taken up by Franklin Roosevelt's campaign team, and it became the anthem of his presidency, and then the unofficial anthem of the Democratic Party. It is upbeat and rollicking and cheerful. When Prohibition was repealed, somebody changed it to Happy Days Are Beer Again. It is suitable for any long-awaited, overdue, desperately needed celebration. Happy days are here again. The skies above are clear again. Let's sing a song of cheer again. Happy days are here again. All together, shout it now. There's no one who can doubt it now, so let's tell the world about it now. Your cares and troubles are gone. There'll be no more from now on. I haven't dragged that song out since 2012. The version I like best, though, and the one that I need now, is different. It was recorded for TV in 1963 by Judy Garland and Barbra Streisand. It's a medley of this old song and Get Happy, which was a signature show tune for Garland. So two loud, brazen, unabashedly happy songs sung by those two powerhouse voices. But in this duet, so quietly, so poignantly, so sorrowfully intermingled back and forth and in a melancholy minor key. So long, sad times. Go long, bad times. We are rid of you at last. Howdy, gay times. Cloudy gray times. You are now a thing of the past. Shout hallelujah. Come on, get happy. Throw all your cares away. Shout hallelujah. Come on, get happy. Get ready for the judgment day. Those two sing it like people who are supposed to be happy, but they can't help feeling shaky with sadness and doubt. Or maybe it's more like people who really ought to be in despair given the state of things, but they can't help but give in to these stirrings of hope. It's all mixed up. And I think that's why I'm calling it my inauguration anthem. It's all mixed up for me as we all lurch toward Wednesday, stopping first and bowing with reverence, gratitude, continuing amazement every year as our sluggish understanding of our history deepens. Stopping first on Monday on the way to Wednesday to honor the life and legacy and revolutionary dream work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. We'll bow our heads, raise our fists, take up the work undone, and then we'll move past Tuesday onto Wednesday to the Capitol again. And this is where it's all mixed up for me. Such relief, such anger, such exhilaration, such exhaustion, such apprehension, grief, shame for our nation and its people, pride for our nation and its peoples, such focused new resolve. I can feel it rising inside me, such excitement and energy, and such numbness and inertia as the full weight of what we've been through settles on the heart and in the bones, the living history of all of us. And meanwhile, COVID. And meanwhile, climate. And meanwhile, all the other day-to-day catastrophes and miracles, people we love in our congregation and beyond who are sick and in trouble, not just with COVID-19, but all the other so-called normal things, people we love who are dying or not dying, getting married, having children, or being children, or loving the lovely snow and birds at the feeder, more light in the morning, more light at night, everything turning toward light and toward darkness at once. How are we supposed to feel this week of all weeks, following last week of all weeks, and more weeks to come, the future just rolling along? All of this, it's okay, all the feels, as they say, okay and important, the rage, the relief, the dread, the hope, or so says a circle of leaders I consulted this week, confessing my confusion and my real concern that Sunday was looming, this actual Sunday right now, and I just had nothing whatsoever to bring. So that wise counsel, which was in fact our beautiful staff team at Thursday's tech rehearsal, they told me all of this is right and fitting for all of us. It is such a glad and anxious time. It reminds me, strangely, of a time some years ago when I had a toothache, a memorable toothache. They gave me something for the pain, and I was elated to the point of everlasting joy, to where I almost forgot about the pain entirely. Almost, but not, because underneath there was anxiety, because the pain was still in there somewhere, just muffled now, lurking, and only vaguely throbbing its power. Mixed feelings. Someone told me this week that the sparkly lights I saw behind her on a little tree in her living room on Zoom are her inauguration lights, and I love that. She said that those same lights last week were impeachment lights, and before that they were New Year's lights and holiday lights. Someone else told me that they're leaving their winter lights up for as long as it takes until they no longer feel lonely on pandemic lockdown. This all seems so smart. All these signal flares rising up, every tool we need to help us navigate turbulent water, help us steer clear without drowning through the sea of ambiguity, all this oceanic anxiety about what's coming next and how to get through it and what all we should be doing. Shine out your light. Remember who you are. Last week, I shared the brilliant words of Jackie Lewis, Reverend Jackie Lewis, crying out plaintively, tweeting out powerfully about being so tired of living in this country where Black grief is a threat and white rage is a sacrament. This week, I'm thinking about a friend of hers, Reverend William Barber from North Carolina. He said way back in 2016, right after that election, Barber said, well, now the mule is kicking. A dying mule always kicks the hardest. That's a dangerous time, he said, when the mule kicks back, kicks hard. It's also a hopeful time because you know that it is a reaction. It's ugly, yes, potentially deadly, yes, but it's also pitiful and desperate. It's a reaction to a mighty change that's already undeniably underway. So I so want to believe that. I want to help make that true enough to believe it. Reverend Barber is the founder of the Poor People's Campaign for a Moral Revival. He said further that same time, the story of our struggle for freedom is not linear. Every advance toward a more perfect union has been met with a backlash of resistance. When African Americans became full citizens in Reconstruction, violence rose up. The violence of the Klan and lynching and the voter suppression of the Southern Democrats. The same exact backlash followed the legislative victories of the second Reconstruction, the civil rights movement of the 20th century, Richard Nixon's Law and Order campaign of 1968. It was an intentional effort to appeal to race hatred and fear, and it worked. It was called the Southern Strategy, and he rode that wave. This latest wave we're in, says Reverend Barber, could not have been possible without the election of Barack Obama. His successor began by waging a crusade against Obama's citizenship. Perfect way to touch the psychic wound in America once again, the fundamental racial fear, and ignite attacks on Black people, brown people, immigrants, Muslims, the LGBTQ community. He touched a wound passed down since the lost cause religion of the 19th century. Barber says, if we're willing to see ourselves as we are and as we've been, we will also see our potential for prophetic resistance. For we are also the heirs of great dissenters who stood for right in perilous times. When the Jim Crow laws of the Solid South were upheld by the Supreme Court in Plessy versus Ferguson, only one justice, John Harlan of Kentucky, dissented. But his dissent laid the groundwork upon which Thurgood Marshall built his case half a century later in Brown versus the Board of Education. When 3 civil rights workers were brutally murdered in the first days of Freedom Summer, white and Black students together chose to press on together, challenging Mississippi to its core. Last week, Georgia elected a Jewish senator and a Black senator. A dying mule always kicks the hardest. He says, we're going to continue to build the moral coalition that is already a majority here in this country, holding race and class together, not separate issues. Yes, we have difficult days ahead, but our foreparents were up against more with less. So what if what we all saw last week, what we've seen these past 4 years, 4 centuries, what if all this were the reactionary death throes of a lie that cannot live forever? The last gasp of the lie and not the new rise of fascism reborn. I want to believe that. I want to live into the hard and holy work of that possibility to help make it solidly true. And that's why the rush to platitudes, the rush toward easy, shallow speeches about unity and healing our divisions, it scares me almost more than the flashes of violence. Of course we want to heal, but we want to heal properly, right? And do our first work first. When I had that horrible toothache, I went to urgent care at night. They filled the tooth and sent me home with something lovely for the pain, which I swallowed gratefully. But before the night was out, the exposed nerve sealed inside woke up, went white hot wild, and the untreated infection, it raged through my whole body. The next day, a dentist had to crack the tooth apart, lance the wound, drain it, dig down to the root cause, down to the bone, scrape it clean, flush it with water and antibiotics, and then tell me it would be a while before they could even begin restoration. To save the foundation of that tooth from sickness inside it was hard, excruciating. We have to do our first work first, and with courage. We don't want to plaster over what is ailing us with platitudes just because it makes us all feel better if we're white. King Holiday comes every year to remind us that part of that first work for us as Americans together begins with dreaming together, wondering out loud, asking hard, necessary questions that are therefore beautiful because they want the truth. Near the end of her latest and her brilliant book, Caste, historian Isabel Wilkerson writes, we look to the night sky, see the planets, the stars, the distant lights as specks of salt, grains of sand. We're reminded how small we are, how insignificant our worries of the moment, how brief our time on this planet. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves, to magnify our significance, to matter somehow as more than the dust that we are. Even the longest lived of our species spends but a blink of time in the span of human history. So how dare anyone cause harm to another soul, curtail their life or life's potential when our lives were so short to begin with. She goes on, our species has suffered incomprehensible loss over the false divisions of caste. The 11 million killed by the Nazis, the 750,000 killed in the Civil War here over the right to enslave people, the slow living death and unfulfilled gifts of millions more on the plantations. Whatever creativity or brilliance they had, it's been lost for all time. And where would we be as a species had those millions been permitted to live out their dreams or live at all? Where would the planet be had the putative beneficiaries been freed of the illusions that imprisoned them too, that imprison us too? Had they directed their energies towards solutions for all humanity, cures for cancer and hunger and the existential threat of climate change, rather than division? A holiday, holy day. It's a good time for holy reflection, especially when that holiday precedes, as this one does, the solemn and serious spectacle of a peaceful transfer of power. It's good practice to pray before a sacred ritual commences. It's been, and it is, and it will be for a while, an exhausting time, confusing, painful, sad, shattering time. And now we have to go forward with courage, not into the future that awaits us, but into the one we helped shape together with millions of others, even though our hearts are tired and our hands don't feel that strong. Now is the time, says my colleague, UU Minister Kiyama Rahman. Now is the time to call on the memories of the ancestors who thought they could not walk another step toward freedom, and they did. Hers is a centering, steadying prayer for remembering the beauty and bravery and strength for survival that is woven into the fabric of our nation's story, even the most tragic chapters. It's a good reminder, her prayer, that among our own ancestors, each of us, there surely were people who survived and overcame all manner of devastation and discouragement with courage and love, which are the same thing. I think of Representative Andy Kim picking up the garbage last week, speaking to his mom from the Capitol, a space she loved, while it was under siege. His mother came from Korea and made a life here, made a family, raised a child who would be elected to the Congress and counted as an honor to keep that house clean. Kiyama's words are about her people, her own ancestors. But I invite you, as you hear her prayer, to just take a breath now and think of yours, your people. Maybe they're your blood ancestors. Maybe they're teachers and mentors and heroes and guides, the ones who have made it possible for you to come on this far and now go further. She says, now is the time to call on the memory of the ancestors who, when the darkness of their lives threatened to take away the hope and light, reached a little deeper and prayed yet another prayer. It is the time to remember those who came through the long night to witness another sunrise. It is that time and place to remember oceans of tears shed to deliver us to this time, to remember the bent knees and bowed backs, to remember the fervent voices asking, begging, beseeching for loved ones sold off. Time to remember their laughter and joy, though they had far less, and little reason for optimism, but they stayed on the path. Time to hold to the steadfast hands and hearts and prayers of the ancestors that have brought us this far. Time to make them proud and show them and themselves what we're made of. Time to show them that their prayers and sacrifice were not in vain, did not go unnoticed. They are not forgotten. Did you not know this day would come? Did you not know we would have to change places? Did you not know that just as our ancestors were delivered, you would also be delivered? Have you not seen the greatness and power of the creative energy called God that moves and has its being through human agency? Have you not seen God in your neighbor's face, in the homeless, in the battered woman, the trafficked child, the undocumented, the dispossessed? It is the time to know that it is our turn, that we will leave a legacy for our children, all children. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Blessed be. For just a moment, all together, even apart, all together, let's just take a breath here. And holding the memory of those who've come before us in order to bring us here. Holding that memory, let's just hold silence for a moment together. January 20th, 1993, Maya Angelou, On the Pulse of Morning. Each of you, a bordered country, delicate, strangely made proud. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Take it into the palms of your hands, mold it into the shape of your most private need, sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here on the pulse of this fine day, may you have the courage, may you have the grace to look up and out and into your neighbor's eyes and into your neighbor's face, your country, and say very simply, with hope, good morning. Most of the music that we're hearing and we're singing here today is borrowed music. It's born out of the past and the present of the African American tradition. Some of the slave songs, the sorrow songs, arose from melodies and rhythms that were carried all the way across the ocean, smuggled. Some of this music is new and it's no less powerful or true. We talk a lot here about appropriation and misappropriation of other people's work, especially their art. This has been a problem for white people, including and maybe especially well-meaning and progressive white people for a long time, ransacking other people's treasure. Isai Barnwell, historian and composer, has worked for years with Unitarian Universalists and others to help us understand this, building communities of singers. And she says, use it all. Sing all the music, learn the music, but only if you tell the stories also. Only if you set it in a context so its sacred power is respected and conjured and honored and cherished, because these songs, they're sanctified. This is work we have been trying to do with Carol's help and Baxter's for a long time. Keep your hand on the plow, eyes on the prize. Freedom never dies. It is a constant struggle, though, a constant sorrow. It's a mourning, it's a dying, a constant hunger, not in any way easy. It's never satisfied once and for all. So keep your hand on the plow and stay vigilant, awake. This music was made, it's still being made by people who knew and people who know what white America is capable of on a daily basis. And so much of it, this music, is about love, amazingly. So much of it is about hope. So much of it is about standing the storm, carrying on. So much of it is about faith. Guide my feet, hold my hand, search my heart while I run this race, because I don't want to run this in vain or live this life or breathe this breath in vain. You want it to matter. You want to be on the right side of history. You want to survive and survive with your soul intact. That this music exists at all is a gift to us all. It is a national treasure. Thomas Dorsey's gospel hymn, Precious Lord, was Martin Luther King's favorite hymn, was one he often asked the choirs of his churches to sing, Dexter Avenue in Montgomery, Ebenezer in Atlanta. Whenever we've sung it here, and we do every year, I've wondered how it falls on your ear. The literal image of a big, strong God with big, strong hands reaching down to help, but also, and more importantly, the unabashed expression of dependency, this full-out confession of limitation and imperfection and exhaustion and despair. I am tired, I am weak and worn. We don't talk like that or act like that around here very much. So vulnerable and exposed, so honest. Hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Sung is a prayer, and it's one thing to hear it, just listen while Carol sings to us. It's one thing to hum it quietly, but to sing it out loud, to pray it out loud, that's a show of significant trust, faith. And maybe in that trusting and that risk of disclosure, there lies a key to resilience. For surely we can't even pretend to be sturdy and hopeful and powerful and brave on our own all the time, not now. I don't know about you, but at this tail end of this outgoing administration, I am tired and weak and worn. Lead Me Home is a line for people who intend to keep on going for the long, long haul. It is not lead me home to heavenly glory and feather rest on pillows of clouds and denial. It's lead me back to the true home of my conviction. Guide me back to my center, to my deepest commitments and covenants with those I love in this country I cherish, this world. It's lead me home to my brave and hopeful heart, to my people, and my unshakable faith that this life is a holy gift, and our job is to be worthy of it. This song about weakness is an anthem of courage. When I'm weary and worn, when I'm dazed and confused, when yet another fire is burning on yet another continent, when yet another glacier melts into the ocean, when yet another makeshift boat sinks beneath the weight of desperate people drowning in despair, when yet another missile is fired by a deluded leader, or a factory closes down, or a pipeline runs through sacred land, or a wall is built where walls just do not belong, or a gun is fired, or another person or 1,000 people die of a disease that doesn't need to kill them in these numbers. Or when a country loses its way and is given yet another chance to start over, to begin again, to dream again of inaugurating a new era of liberty, justice, and equality. Take my hand, hear my prayer, guide my feet, lead me home to what I know is true and good and right, and maybe even possible. Our hymn is Precious Lord, Take My Hand, number 199.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and love of truth forever guide us.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. At 11:15 in a few minutes, please join us for Cyber Social Hour so we can connect with one another. It's actually just half an hour of easy conversation. We really hope you'll come. We are sending love to each of you today from Maple Street here and from all the places we are. Farewell and stay well, friends. Stay safe from all of us. Amen.
Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on. I tell you, it's gone on. Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on. And we won't be silent anymore. Oh, somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on. Yes, it's gone on. Yes, it's gone on. Don't you know somebody's hurting my brother, and he's gone on. And we won't be silent anymore. Oh, somebody's taking our health care, and it's gone on. Yes, it's gone on. Don't you know that it's gone on? Yes, somebody's hurting my children, and it's gone on. And now be silent anymore.
Did you hear somebody's more than the water? And it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Oh, it's gone on far too long. Oh, yeah, somebody's ignoring our elders, and it's gone on. Oh, if we won't be silent anymore.
Somebody's telling some lies, y'all, and it's gone on. Well, it's gone on. Oh, it's gone on. Oh, somebody's telling some lies, and it's gone on. Oh, and we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Now where I come from, they say, yeah.